Let's go to the UN Security Council now. It's fallen short in its response to the crisis in Syria. That was the message delivered by the Prime Minister John Key in his speech to the UN General Assembly in New York today. Shortly we'll go to our political editor, Jane Patterson, who's with the PN in New York. But the scale of the Syrian disaster is demonstrated by two quite extraordinary numbers. 4.5 million Syrians are now refugees, and 6.5 million Syrians are displaced within their own country. They try to escape and they drown in the Mediterranean or end up in overcrowded camps. They stay and they face displacement, hunger and death from all sides. Tensions have been running higher over Syria at the UN, with 2 bombing attacks in the past week, one by the US, one almost certainly by Russia. Alex Ashton reports on what's at stake with New Zealand at the UN and chairing the Security Council tomorrow.
John Key opened his address to the General Assembly with an outline of some of the challenges facing the UN. He spoke of closing borders and fear-based politics gaining traction throughout the world. But Mr Key then turned to the Security Council, the real powerhouse of the UN, and its shortcomings.
We need the Council to respond when no one else can. This is why we have called consistently for Council action to revive the Middle East peace process. We've also been deeply troubled to see the Council, the preeminent body for international peace and security, fail to live up to its responsibilities on the most serious crisis of our time, Syria. Here the Council has fallen short.
John Key went on to say that the Council's internal politics were getting in the way of finding a long-term solution to the civil war in Syria, which is now in its 6th year. An issue he hopes to discuss as he prepares to chair a special UN Security Council meeting tomorrow.
A meeting by itself won't stop the conflict, but after more than 5 years of brutal fighting and horrific humanitarian suffering, we do not think it's credible for leaders to come to New York and not address the stark realities driving the conflict. We hope tomorrow's meeting will provide an opportunity for Council leaders to take stock of developments, examine the fundamental issues at the heart of the conflict, and discuss how we can move towards a sustainable political solution.
John Key ended his speech with an endorsement for Helen Clark in her bid for the top job of UN Secretary-General.
I've worked across the political divide from Helen Clark for years, and I know her to be a natural leader. She rallies people together to find the common ground, even when the issues are difficult and the difference is vast. She gets things done. We think it's time for a Secretary-General like Helen Clark.
Mr Key also drew attention to North Korea, saying last month's nuclear test was provocative and showed a blatant disregard for Security Council resolutions and international law. He said those actions have raised tensions on the Korean peninsula to the point where the risk of conflict is dangerously high, another issue on which he says the Security Council must do more to address. For Checkpoint, Alex Ashton, aho.